Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Royal News Network Crown Report. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic, obviously, New Year's Eve. And there has been so much that has happened in the royal realm this year. I actually was putting a list together and was just surprised and shocked by so many stories. Of course, the year started off in 2024. Just going to give you a couple of highlights, and we'll go into some of these stories overall. Year started off with the abdication really of Queen Margrethe of Denmark. She announced that on New Year's Eve. And so next New Year's Day, within 2 weeks, Crown Prince Frederik became King Frederik. So we had the inauguration of him. We also had the announcement that Catherine was undergoing major abdominal surgery. Then it came out, I think, a week or so later that Charles was going to have surgery. And of course, throughout the year, we learned that Catherine and the king both ended up having and dealing with cancer and having various cancer treatments. And so that really did put an interesting spin on the year overall, you could say, and something that definitely nobody was anticipating. And then, of course, in Norway, probably the biggest story or one of the biggest stories is the arrest of Marius Borg Høiby for assault and the continued sort of evolution of that story, which continues to look incredibly badly for the Norwegian monarchy. Somebody reached out to me, and I haven't been able to investigate it myself yet, but apparently the Norwegian royal family has taken another hit in popularity, in part because of that scandal. Combine that with the wedding of Martha Louise to her very controversial husband, Shrek Varek. Trying to remember if I got that right. And that marriage is continuing, but there are a lot of scandals going on with that. As well, you got King Charles, of course, going and traveling to Australia. You got state visits, especially in December, but a great state visit was between the Netherlands and Spain earlier this year. Denmark, because the new king and queen also had some state visits. We had Catherine's return for Trooping the Color, like so many things to look at for this royal year. But definitely, let's go ahead and begin because there's like so many things to go over because it was a long year. And we just capped it off with the announcement that the Grand Duke of Luxembourg will abdicate for his son, Prince. Basically, his name is Prince William. It's like Guadalupe in their language. And so that was obviously not a huge shock because they had already transferred some of the powers earlier this year. But next year, on October 3rd, I believe, we'll have a new Grand Duke of Luxembourg. So it seems like about every year we have a transition of power between sort of the new and next generations. This has happened quite a bit, I feel like, in the last couple of years. So we shall see what the future holds, let's say, for Sweden and Norway, because those are the next two, let's say, older monarchs. So very, very interesting year, you could say. Definitely not something everybody was anticipating, but I put together a list of so many different things, and we'll go in order, sort of, kind of what we know happened at particular times. There'll be some pictures, maybe some videos, maybe some not, because there's just so much to cover. It's really difficult to know where to begin almost. And we got Lizzie B gifted one Royal News Network membership. Why, thank you so much, Lizzie B. That is so kind of you. I'm sure some of you will really appreciate that for this upcoming new year. So, guys, there's so many, again, major stories, a fascinating year, but it really started off with the abdication of Queen Margrethe of Denmark. That was something nobody really anticipated. Even the family, as I understand it, did not know until like moments before she announced it, or like a couple days before she announced it in her New Year's Eve address. And so King Frederik got to do his own this year. But when it comes to the inauguration that happened just a couple of weeks later, if you guys remember, we did a live stream for it. And so here's a little bit of them officially proclaiming Frederik as a king here. Very exciting. Skal jeg efter dansk statsskik 3 gange udråbe. So this is the prime minister announcing Frederik. It is an inauguration. It's not a coronation, or you could say a crowning. It is an inauguration that is the same in the Netherlands as well. His Majestät Dronning Margrethe den Anden. So big excitement for him there. And this was again a huge shock because Queen Margrethe is very well loved in Denmark. And when she announced this, nobody was really anticipating it. And so because of that, it was just like this, whoa, what is going to happen? And so King Frederick now, obviously, it's been basically a year since this occurred. And overall, the sentiment is that he and his family have done fairly well. There's actually even a Times of London article that came out yesterday talking about what a great inclusion Queen Mary has been. She's obviously originally from Australia. So let's take a look at the whole royal family here. And there's King Frederick and Queen Mary. So I love the Times of London article. If you haven't looked at it, you really should. Talking about especially how she has been a great inclusion because she is from Australia, but she happened to be able to integrate well, not only into the royal family, but into Danish society. I got a chance to see her really up close when she undertook the official state visit with Egypt earlier this month. It seems crazy because I was in Europe for the last month. I feel like I'm still recovering in some ways, but it was a fabulous trip and so great to see them sort of enjoying their first year as king and queen. Aw. And so there this will be, guys, the probably the biggest, most eligible bachelor in Europe, I'd have to say, which is Crown Prince Christian, because most of the next generation is female in Europe. And so he is one of the few male heirs to the throne. And so he will be definitely a popular lad here. So there's Princess Isabella, and then Princess Josephine and Prince Vincent. So they have 4 children, and so very big day for them. I don't think in this particular video we have Queen Margaretha. She had sort of a very sweet moment, which was very emotional for her because she went to sort of sign the official papers to abdicate, and then she said, "God save the queen," I believe it was, as she sort of left out the room and appeared to get very, very emotional because the last time there was a king in Denmark, it was her father. So there was a very much a sort of bittersweetness to her abdication, and I would say a lot of shock as well. But I think the transition of power seemed to go really well. And then, of course, you could say the biggest saga of the year, the one that I think has been the thread throughout royal watching for the entire 2025 is, of course, the announcement that Catherine, the Princess of Wales, was having major surgery. Now, she didn't say this in her initial statement, or their team didn't say this in the initial statement, but this is obviously from later in the year. But she did officially announce that she was undergoing some really major surgery and was going to spend weeks in the hospital. Now, I remember at the time thinking, because royals can have the best of care at home, that if she was going to spend upwards of 2 weeks in the hospital, the surgery was major, it was invasive, and had a high risk of complications. And so it was something where they had to keep her in the hospital because someone like her, and we saw this actually later in the year, a couple of months in, where somebody was trying to access her medical records. I'm sure they had so much security for anyone interacting with her in that hospital. And that is something exceedingly rare because royals, if they can have the treatment at home and be at home, that makes so much more sense. That she couldn't raise a lot of alarm bells at the time. Of course, we did not know the full story, but it was obviously very concerning and very sad because she shared initially that she would not be back until essentially Easter was the estimated time of return. And that is a long time. That is like a full 3 months. And there was a lot of confusion as well. And I tried to dispel some of this because some people were talking about how it was a planned surgery. And they were seeming to think, oh, well, she planned this 6 months in advance. I just want to say again, that's not how this works. I have had major surgery, and what they do sometimes is like, yes, you need that surgery pretty quickly. But in my situation, I had a broken bone. They needed the swelling in the tissue to go down. So it took me a week to get the surgery. So it was planned, but it was definitely not something where this was elective. Because I think people thought planned and elective. This was definitely not the case. I imagine that she had probably been having some health issues for quite a while. They finally got to the case where they said, oh, she needed some surgery. And so they were able to plan it, but it was an emergency. Like she went into the doctor and they're like, oh my gosh, we need to get you into the OR ASAP. That's emergency surgery. She had a planned, though unplanned surgery, if that makes sense. I feel like that's, again, important to clarify, because what really I think was fascinating about this year is how much royal watching in some ways went completely off the rails into crazy, because Catherine shared, hey, I will be out until Easter. But somehow in late February, early March, it became hashtag where is Kate? And obviously that is a different story. But I was like, she told us she wouldn't be available until March. And it's not March yet, or not Easter yet. So what in the world are you getting so fussed about? Because she said basically until Easter. And so it's not Easter. Why are people freaking out? But I think it goes to the effect of, when somebody is so famous and then you don't see them for a while, people just completely freaked out. And it's sort of fascinating that Catherine was never more popular, more discussed than when she disappeared from the scene, which I think was very, very like fascinating, because you feel like Meghan Markle constantly shares little stories about herself constantly to keep her profile in the media. And Catherine did literally nothing, and people could not stop speculating on her. You even had supporters of Meghan's, like Christopher Bosey, going on and on and on about a sort of picture we'll get to later. But yes, it was an absolute beginning of something that really spun way out of control. And I think, to be clear as well, I think out of control of the royal family too. They were also caught completely off guard by the fiasco. And I call it fiasco, not really on them, but just that I don't think they anticipated everything just spiraling the way it did. They didn't really anticipate the beast of the media. Well, sorry, really, the internet just sort of going off the rails. And so I don't necessarily blame them for that, although I feel like they should have maybe been better reacting. But when Catherine announced that, that really set the tone for a very different year. So Charles, around the same time, also announced that he was having surgery for his prostate. So it was really like shocking. Like the first month of the year, we have two of the major features of the British royal family, the most popular, or you could say one of the most, I guess, iconic members in terms of Catherine, because women like watching royalty a bit more than the men do. And so we like watching other women in their fashion. That's a part of royal watching. And so Catherine sort of disappeared. And then all of a sudden you got the king, the actual monarch. He is gone and having surgery as well. And so that really continued this sort of weird thing that happened at the beginning of the year. And then just a couple weeks later, I believe it was on February 5th, as I was doing my research, I found the date where he announced that he actually did have cancer. And of course, that was shocking. Nobody was anticipating that. I mean, it had just been a little over a year since he had become king. Because remember, he became king just in September of 2022. And it was in January of 2024. So a year and some change later, that all of a sudden he has cancer. Like, he's waited his entire life to get to this moment, and then all of a sudden his first year he's crippled with cancer. And so he started undergoing treatment, and it was very different obviously than Catherine's situation, because the king's surgery, even though he was actually able to go and meet with Catherine very briefly, his surgery was minimally invasive, and he was able to recover a lot faster than she did. So obviously at this point in the year, in February, we don't know Catherine has cancer. I'm sure she probably found out sometime around that point that yes, she had cancer. And so she is dealing not only with a cancer diagnosis, but recovering from major abdominal surgery. So she is really in a tough spot here. And this is before, of course, everything really spiraled. And it was very sad, I feel like, for the Windsors as well in the beginning of the year, because we also have Thomas Kingston, the husband of Lady Gabriella Windsor, who decided to end his life in February. And this was right before the service of Thanksgiving for King Constantine II of Greece. Obviously, he had a family relationship to Prince Philip. So it was a bit of a surprise, but they had a service of Thanksgiving about a year after his death at Windsor Castle in St. George's Chapel. And William was supposed to be there, and he pulled out last minute. And nobody really knew why. And Lady Gabriella also pulled out last minute. Nobody really knew why. Now, obviously, we know why, but it raised a lot of speculation. People wondering because William didn't go to his memorial service last year. It's like, why isn't he going and doing this? It's like right in his backyard. And yes, Catherine's recovering, but surgery recovering is something where the person, yes, they may need help, but you at the time, again, this is in the time. I was even thinking, I was like, well, I'm sure they have somebody who can help her for like an hour or so while he's at the service and then coming back home. But obviously we didn't know the full story of what was going on. And then you have the Lady Gabriella situation as well. I believe her husband committed his sad act, I think the day or two before this actual memorial service. So obviously in grief, she pulled out. Completely understandable. We found out, I believe it was maybe even a couple days to a week or so later that was the reason. But unfortunately, what happened here as well is that this sort of spiraled even more in the situation, because what you had in addition to all that is that you had, as Catherine was recovering, somehow the death of Thomas and like the dynamic between them sort of got weirdly conflated. And somehow you had the Sussex squad sharing terrible thoughts about some sort of conflict and affair between Catherine and Thomas, and then Gabriella and William finding out or something. It was so horrific. I think one of the things we found out this year too, and I would put a lot of this burden on the Sussex squad. I do think people who support royals sometimes go too far in their things on social media as well. But this year, it was really sort of the awfulness of actual tragedy that people twisted in order to promote their own agendas. Like, it's just was horrific, the things they were saying about Thomas and Catherine and William and Lady Gabriella. In the midst of horrific tragedy, people were saying the most awful, untrue things. Like, they were totally crazy, unhinged things. And so it just got a little crazy for sure. And the whole thing sort of got stranger as well, because we have Catherine's Mother's Day picture controversy. So I'm like trying to pull up the image because it's been a little bit, because there were obviously some, and it was just a little bit odd, I will admit as well, that Catherine had decided to do some Photoshop of the picture. So there were some obvious inconsistencies. I think some of it, I mean, the most obvious here is Charlotte's arm and maybe a couple other things. Some of it started to go way too into the realm of like sort of crazy theories about like everything from being over here being weird, although you could tell a little bit that it's off. But it's like most of this was probably fine. Had seen this situation, of course, as just, it was one of those things that got through. And again, we didn't really know what was going on. And I honestly don't think, and this was my theory, I supposed at the time, is that I don't think Catherine and William's staff fully knew what was going on. I think they knew she was recovering from surgery. I really don't think the vast majority of them knew she had cancer. I think that was something they were trying to keep just within the family, especially as she was going through the initial treatments, which I totally understand. And so what happened in this situation was that I think normally Catherine would have maybe done a little bit of just tinkering and it probably would have been fine. And I think sometimes things should have, in this situation, and I hope in the future, just to catch it, it should have gone through an additional pair of eyes before it was posted. I think Catherine and William probably directly posted this, or their staff did, and their staff just was at this point not really looking. But if you're sick, if you're not feeling well, you don't see everything you used to, or you're just distracted or what have you, and so your eyes are not like looking minuscule at this. And so I understand why sort of a reference needed to be made that, hey, this was Photoshop. But the way the media took this was completely crazy, in my opinion. Again, this was the year of royal watching craziness because, yes, there were issues with this picture, but, like, can anybody honestly say that this was, like, a totally fake image or AI? Of course it wasn't, but people were taking that, and they were taking it and just massively, massively, massively going way out of control on this, and a lot of it was fueled by, I would argue, the Sussex Squad, Republicans, people who don't like the royals, and those who are just casual royal watchers and just, like, went completely insane because, of course, you better believe it, if the royals have, like, the control over this particular picture or over their particular pictures, yes, they are doing a bit of Photoshop. Like, this is not a surprise. Everybody does Photoshop. Now, I don't. I put a watermark over my images, and sometimes I will lighten it or darken it, but I really, like, because number 1, I have no clue what I'm doing, and to me, it's just more of a, you could say, a news thing. It's like why I don't even use AI images for the thumbnails of my video. It's more of a just an accuracy style thing. And yes, I do think this needed to be highlighted, but the negative spin people took on it was just so like, it was unheard of. It was unnecessary. And I feel like some people, even in the media and different things, and I think this was because slowly, I always feel like even the royals themselves are starting to not rely on the media quite so much to get out their message. They're starting to use social media more, which I think they should. Spain has a entire YouTube channel where they basically post just simple videos of their events that somebody's, like, glommed together, very simple and easy. And I think 100% Casa Real, 100% what every royal family should be doing. Don't let the media drive the sole narrative. You can film your own videos and post them. British royals are doing that sort of a little bit, but not really. But I feel like as the media's lost control, they're getting more and more irritated that they're not being let in to get particular pictures that Catherine and William, or, they're having members of the family or a private photographer take the pictures rather than doing something like a photo call. Now, while the Brits, could they do more photo calls? I think so. Other royal families do it, and I think it works pretty well, but that's not the avenue Catherine and William decided to go down. And so I feel like as the media has lost control, some of them took great pleasure in highlighting this and took way too much glee in this particular situation. And of course, we did not know the full story. We did not know the full story. And then this sort of started to heighten the hashtag where is Kate situation. People started going crazy over where is Kate, even though she told us again that she would be out until Easter. Like, the earliest we would see her would be around Easter. And then it like it just kept going and going, and like people were getting more and more fussed. And it was starting to be picked up by major news outlets, which was like puzzling to me in the extreme. Cause I'm like, "Oh, why? What? Like, why is a major news outlet looking at such a ridiculous, ridiculous story? I don't understand. I, like, so don't understand why major news outlets, like major news outlets, were covering hashtag Where is Kate. It was just, like, absolutely crazy. It just didn't make any sense why people are doing this. And as this, like, fervor came on, we also had a picture of Catherine and William, or really a video, emerge of them at a local market in Windsor. And of course, this started even more talk and discussion. Now, I believe this came out. Yeah, so this came out a little bit before Catherine officially announced that she had cancer, about a week or so before, and they were at this market there near Windsor. They were walking, and of course, the picture quality is not good because it's a video taken through a glass of a car from far away. So if you magnify it, it's not going to look very good. But it's like clearly them. But the amount of people who went through, like Christopher Bosie, I don't know if he's deleted a lot of his stuff or not, but the amount of, like, ridiculous nonsense he went through trying to prove that it was, like, I can't remember if it was AI or fake or what the heck he was trying to prove, but he went on and on and on about this. And it was really just got to the point where it's just started getting a little crazy because people are like, well, she's had major surgery. Like, why is she looking so good? Well, it's like, it's been a couple months. Like, it's been 2 months now. She should be pretty good. It's good for people who have had surgery or other issues to go out. And so it was just so like, this just got absolutely crazy again. And people kept going. I think the guy who released this got like a 6-figure payday for this video. I think he made an obscene amount of money. So it was just one of those things where everybody was sort of talking about Catherine and William. This was really obviously in March. And it was just kind of going and going and getting more and more crazy. And it's around the time that Catherine, and it was one of those things where it had just gotten so insane. And I know some people have speculated on certain things, but I think Catherine announced this about a week before she was scheduled really to get back into royal engagements. And so she was sort of had to say something. Now, some people say it was all because of hashtag Where is Kate. That's not really the case because it was getting to that point. It was about a week before Easter, and people were expecting her a week or two because Easter was on, I think, March 31st or the very end of March. So it was getting to the point where people were like, okay, where are you? You're going to have to start getting back to work. So what is going on? And that's when Catherine shared this unbelievable video talking about how she was going through cancer treatments. So don't have this particularly queued up to a particular instance, but let's listen to a little bit of this here.
Take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery.
So this was taken in one take. It was done by the BBC under like strict guard of secrecy, and like the whole world was transfixed. I was actually happened to be going through, I think, the car wash when this dropped. So, and my family texted me because I was literally in the car wash going through with my car when this news broke. And it was kind of absolutely crazy.
It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful.
And you can tell as well here in this video that she's definitely in the midst of starting to get this chemotherapy treatment, and it's taken its toll. It's been tough. And people commented as well, of course, because then people got crazy as well on this because people were talking about how that she like her ring appeared and disappeared and that it was so blown out and so it had to be fake. It's like this was done at a particular time of day. They used a soft focus lens. Like, the effect you're getting here is completely understandable. They maybe didn't want to do like a full realistic view because maybe she wasn't feeling particularly good that day. She's like, well, if we can have a soft focus and you can't see sort of maybe as much of the stress of the situation. So this itself, even though it's totally natural, done by the BBC, everything, people again got crazy over this too, which is just so sad.
In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present.
So this was just for somebody who is as young as Catherine is, as in shape as Catherine is, for somebody like her to get cancer, it was just unbelievably shocking. It was so unbelievably shocking. And so people were just incredibly surprised, incredibly saddened. There were a lot of big reactions from it. And it was something where everybody was having to sort of figure out where to go next. And Catherine's cancer diagnosis, of course, was just a grave shock overall. People were just completely bowled over by this reality. And so she explained that she would have to be basically out for much of the rest of the year. And she essentially was. She was able to do some more engagements as the year went on. But this was a big situation. And you felt like as well, they were really trying to protect their kids and be with their kids as much as possible. But this was even more than Charles, just somebody as young as she is, a huge shock. Having watched Royals, very closely, I would say for over a decade now at this point, we haven't had a situation where somebody as young as she is has had such a devastating diagnosis, really, at least recently. Crown Princess Mette-Marit of Norway has chronic pulmonary fibrosis. So that is sort of, you could argue, somewhat a life-limiting condition. But Catherine's was just totally, totally unexpected, because I would imagine she's in phenomenal shape. I think she loves to work out. She's very active. Her and the kids are very active. And so she would be sort of like the last person you would expect to get cancer. So I think it shows as well that, and I think it's even good for the royal family, that cancer can affect anyone. You are not, even because of a royal title or anything like that, none of that impacts the fact that you can get cancer, and that cancer does not discriminate. And so it was just incredibly sad, huge moment of the year for sure. And I just did want to shout out real quick, Pat SQ became a YouTube member. Why, thank you so much, Pat. I hope you are enjoying this video and all the things we do here. So next, we have something that is a little bit more exciting. And again, I'm trying to go through most of the events of the year. And this one was one I was actually really bummed I didn't go and cover in person, to be quite honest. And this was the state visit between the Netherlands and Spain. And what I loved here for this event is that we have Queen Maxima of the Netherlands wearing the Stuart tiara. There's Queen Letizia there wearing one of the more substantial pieces from the Spanish collection. There they are. Queen Letizia has been struggling with health issues related to her feet, but it's like Maxima wearing the Stuart is so, so exciting, because I love the Stuart tiara. I think it's absolutely amazing. I'm just pausing a little bit here for potential copyright issues, but I think that tiara is just unbelievable. And so you don't get the full effect here, but you can see the diamond on top. There it is. Okay, so you can't totally see it, but Maxima is wearing, the Stuart is known for having this 39.75 carat light blue diamond on the top, which makes the Stuart tiara one of the most substantial and impressive in all of Europe, to be quite honest. And so this is a very close relationship between these two families, because Catherine Amalia, the daughter of the king and queen, she actually went and lived in Spain and went to a Spanish university for a while because of threats against her life. So they have a very close dynamic. And so, yeah, we are seeing this right here. Love seeing the Stuart, one of my favorite pieces. It's fabulous. And I love that Maxima wears it. Queen Letizia, this is one of her more substantial pieces. I can't quite remember the name of this one off the top of my head, but it's very much one reserved for the queen. There we have Princess Beatrix, the former queen of the Netherlands, wearing the diamond bandeau tiara, one I'm hoping to see Catherine Amalia in somewhat soon. And then we have Catherine Amalia here wearing the peacock. And so I think this all looked very, very nice and regal, but super exciting to see this for sure. And I have a couple of questions here. I have that I'll get to a bit later, one from members and stuff. So guys, we'll definitely answer those in a little bit, but I'm absolutely was so excited to see this visit. It was great, especially because, again, Spain covers all their own royal engagements with a videographer. So every engagement they went to in the Netherlands was put on their own YouTube channel, which, again, I think every royal family should be doing. Your royal family should be doing that. This month as well, in April, Charles announced that he was sort of returning to full-time duties to the best of his ability after sort of undergoing his initial treatments and spending some time away from public-facing royal duties, which was totally understandable. All right. So next we have Catherine Amalia was sort of an interesting case as well, because she officially announced and requested that she start receiving her annual salary as the Princess of Orange. She's actually paid by the government 1.5 million euros per year. So she declined that the first 3 years after she was eligible, starting when she was 18, but decided that in May, I believe it was actually this time of year, that she start receiving it because she is starting to fulfill more royal duties. I love seeing the younger generations coming up. We even have obviously so much that Leonor is doing in Spain. And so we're seeing more and more of the royal ladies and the young royal ladies getting out there and doing some engagements, which I think is absolutely fantastic. It's so great to see. And then next sort of big thing of the year was the state visit by Denmark to Sweden and Norway, which I wanted to cover couldn't cover for other reasons, but I just did want to share this quick little video here because one of the things I love is that there is a very familial relationship between all the Scandinavian royals. They're all basically related. And so there was a very sweet, touching gesture when they arrived. And I felt like Victoria was very joyful for Frederik and Mary, like genuinely happy for them. So she gave him a nice curtsy. And then she gave Mary a lovely curtsy as well. And so did Daniel here. I love the hug. The hug, guys. The hug gets me every time. I love the hug. It's so sweet. I love the hug. I love the hug. Like Victoria is Victoria has always struck me as somebody who genuinely very, very much loves her royal duties. And I feel like she just was so excited for them and so excited to host them. And next year, though, and I caught the little bit of this story, wasn't able to fully get into it because traveling last month really took me back. But next year, I don't believe that Sweden will be hosting actually any state visits. And the reason is that they had to actually host 3 this year. So they hosted one for the president of France. That was in January, I believe. And I think that one was supposed to be in 2023. Then they hosted one with Finland because they had a new president. They hosted one with Denmark, obviously, and maybe even Iceland as well, because it is one of the Scandinavian countries. But because they hosted so many, they actually were like, we can't host anymore next year. We're kind of over budget. And so next year, I believe my understanding is that there probably won't be any state visits hosted by Sweden. They will probably go on some, but they will not be hosting. So yes, I love Carol real quick here. Love that they pay attention to royal protocol. Yes, because I feel like royal protocol in because of some people has sort of gotten this bad reputation. It's like not a bad thing. They're respecting the institution, respecting their families, respecting tradition and heritage and culture and so many different things. And so, yes, it might seem weird to other people, but it's like, another culture also does things weird. And it's like, well, you would respect that culture, but you don't respect this culture. You can't have it both ways. You have to respect it or not respect it. So anyways, and then we have in June, we have King Abdullah celebrating his 25 years on the throne. It was his silver jubilee. So there was sort of a big parade. His daughter-in-law, Princess Rajwa, was also pregnant with his first grandchild. So that was exciting as well. We have a lot of royals going out to commemorate the 80th anniversaries of D-Day. This includes William and the kings and queens of Belgium, the Netherlands. We have Luxembourg, Monaco, Norway. I don't think we had Sweden there, but we had quite a few there. And it was just a way to commemorate the 80th anniversary of D-Day and obviously the pushback against Adolf Hitler. Next year will be the 80th anniversary at the end of the war. So we may see some interesting events connected to there for that specific event. So we also had, very excitingly, even though she was recovering from cancer, we do have Catherine's first appearance of the year going to Trooping the Color. So I put up the Royal Family channel, but I didn't get to, I think I was debating what to share. So I didn't get this particular video, but we will go back up to around the time of Trooping because it was just so exciting to see Catherine making a triumphant return to royal duties. She had sort of made an announcement that this was something that she was going to do. And so everybody was like very, very excited to see her back here yet again on the balcony. There's the king and queen and Catherine and William and their kids as well. We also have I want to say the Wessexes, but the Edinburghs and the Gloucesters. So I feel like Catherine really stood out here, and they were very close to sort of the right hand of the king. You have Queen Camilla right here and Sophie, the Duchess of Edinburgh, over there with Prince Edward and Lady Louise. And we have the Duchess of Gloucester over here. So it was very exciting to see Catherine and the kids. It always is, for sure. Here they are waiting for the fly past. There's a very sweet moment of talk between Catherine and Charles, who we've been told or we've heard that they have developed an even closer relationship over this last year because of their simultaneous cancer treatments. And Charles did go and visit Catherine while she was in the hospital and he was in the hospital. So it was just a very, very exciting moment to see Catherine just making really a pretty good recovery here. There was also a horrendous rainstorm, like, right before this, so it was nice. That was all clear. Oh, we got a closer angle here of the family. That's a sweet interaction there between them. I don't know if I would imagine this is the same, like we haven't lost anything, but I wanted to point out to you guys that this video is just 3 minutes and 10 seconds. So about probably the time they were out there was about 3 minutes or less, to be quite honest. And I wanted to point that out just because when it comes to royals being on the balcony and everything, people think it's a long time. It's a really short period of time. Having done this a couple of times now, they're really only out there for like a half a second and then they go inside. So that's just something to sort of remind everyone, I guess, because not everybody thinks of it. We also have King Felipe celebrating 10 years on the throne. So this was a big deal, definitely for Spain. And he had a pretty big moment this year to really, you could say, show off his his kingliness, because him and his wife definitely had a moment where things got very much a little tense. And I did want to say as well, and I don't remember exactly which month this is, but Princess Leonor also undertook her first foreign solo royal engagement. She went and visited Portugal. And when I was in the Netherlands, I was listening to the speech by the president of Portugal, and he was sharing that he had officially invited Princess Catherine Amalia to undertake her first foreign royal engagement over there in Portugal as well. So Portugal, I guess, may be sort of, I don't know if it's the sounding ground is the right term or not, but it might be it's like a big moment for the royal ladies to undertake their first real big foreign royal engagement over in Portugal. So let's see a little bit, oops, sorry, of this here with Casa Real. So they're there for this official ceremony. There was a big parade there at the palace there in Madrid. We have the royal family. Princess Leonor is in the red, and we have Queen Letizia in the teal here, and Infanta Sofia in the black ensemble. So I want to remind everyone, this is Casa Real, so this is their own YouTube channel, which again, they post a lot of stuff too. Great, great, great idea. And this was a pretty big issue as well, because when it comes to, oh, you could say Spain, the transition of power to Spain from King Juan Carlos to King Felipe was very, you could say, contentious, because the former king had abdicated the throne sort of in disgrace, and so it was up to his son to sort of take things back, and he really did. He had a moment to really shine this year, and definitely King Felipe did for sure. So King Felipe really one of the stars of this year, and did a really an amazing thing. So the other big moment we got here was Catherine, the Princess of Wales, at Wimbledon. And this was really cool because this was the first time. And one of the photographers even commented on this, is that when Catherine arrived, she got a huge standing ovation and she stood and waved to the crowd, which is something she doesn't normally do. It was definitely very different. So let's watch a little bit of this here. So actually, that is Julia Roberts and her husband, Danny Motor as well. There, right there. You can see the big standing ovation. And so she's there getting situated. And then little Charlotte and her sister are there too. So it was ladies' day out at Wimbledon. And so the crowd keeps clapping and cheering. And again, this is not what Catherine's used to. So she's almost a little uncomfortable. She's like, what is going on? So she does this very sweet little thing. Waves to the crowd, which is something she does not normally do. But what's great too is she doesn't really make it all about her, and then that she's quickly kind of trying to diet down and sit down. But Her lovely little moment of waving to the crowd. You can tell that she feels the love too. So that was a really, really big moment this year as well. Catherine usually attends a couple of matches, not usually just one, but obviously with her cancer treatments and recovery, she decided not to do that, which is totally understandable. And so we keep going. We have a lot of royals who attended the Olympics. So that was always a big thing to see a lot of the royals, especially young royals, going out and attending the Olympics, which is a bunch of fun. We have Princess Iman bint Hussein bin Abdullah. So this is the daughter of Crown Prince Hussein of Jordan. She was born on August 3rd. So she will unfortunately not be in line for succession because the throne only passes through the men. So this will be sort of a moment where I hope, like, it's sort of weird, but I always worried because like there is such a focus on men's succession. And I was really hoping their first child would be a boy, so there's not as much pressure on the next to have a girl. But yes. So next we shall talk about, oh, this was the big case in some ways of the year, I would say the big story of grave concern in a lot of ways. Did a couple videos on it, but of course, the case of Marius Borg Høiby. So he is the son of Crown Princess Mette-Marit of Norway. That is her right here. And in August, on August 4th, so Iman was born on August 3rd. On August 4th, he was arrested for assaulting his alleged girlfriend. I say alleged only because he seems to think they were, and she doesn't seem to think they were, in at least her statements. So he was this was just became a case that wasn't just like one and done. So it's like wasn't one and they sort of moved on, but it was one that it kept growing and metastasizing and just so many things. And he was basically, there was an investigation. They charged him with a couple things, including assault, including damage of property, and making threats. And that could have been it. But then there was a restraining order filed. He violated the restraining order. He was arrested for violating the restraining order. And it just sort of kept devolving. More charges were added. More women were being questioned by police in regards to their experiences with him. And it sort of came out through the process as well that Mette-Marit might have contributed to maybe concealing some evidence that might have implicated him, particularly that he claims. And this was sort of, again, I'm just taking this from the translated websites of like CO Korg and stuff. So you can take this with somewhat a grain of salt, but this seems to be the case, is that he claims the SIM card was in his phone and then his mom cleaned up his place and the SIM card mysteriously disappeared from his phone. Now, of course, it could have been entirely him, but it's pretty amazing. He's kind of throwing his mom under the bus here. She will be the future queen of Norway. And it just kept being something where we were following this throughout most of the year because things kept happening. More charges kept being added, more assault charges, like a slew of charges have been filed against him, basically. So he is in a huge, massive crisis. And we got reports that he went to a rehab in London, then left after a couple of days. And he's like shown the middle finger and carrying a case of beer and looking over. And there's like an art magazine with him on the cover. And it's just like, you just get the sense that this guy has no appreciation for the gravity of the situation he's in, the gravity of the crimes he's accused of. And it makes the monarchy look particularly bad, especially because it was revealed that he would throw wild parties on the crown prince and princess's estate and even in their home. And they had silverware stolen, and they had a petrol card, a government issue petrol card stolen from their home that was used by somebody for like a year without any repercussions. And so this is a case that's really negatively impacting Norway. And especially because I think most of the Norwegian royals knew what was going on with Marius and how much of a bad behavior he was having, and they weren't really addressing it. And so it sort of blew up in everybody's face. So it just became an incredibly sad case. It still continues, it's still ongoing, and we shall see where it eventually lands in terms of the investigation and the court proceedings and everything like that. But it is a very serious, and you compound that with the marriage later that month of Princess Martha Louise and her husband, Shaman Durek Verrett. And he is a very controversial figure, and he has even been accused of various assaults. And so it just gets sort of bad. But the wedding was something where I remember seeing it and remember going, is it really the smartest idea for you guys to attend? And yes, I understand the Norwegian royals, they want to support a member of the family, but he is so controversial and she is also so controversial. I just couldn't help but wonder, is this really the best idea for you guys to go there and seem like you're approving of this relationship that really has a lot of issues? So they did do that, and their support has really taken a hit. It's taken a huge, huge hit, and we'll see how it all sort of irons out. But I just don't think it's a very, very good. I don't think it's a very good look at all. So, but when it comes to September, we also had another big announcement, which is Catherine shared that she had finished her cancer treatment. So let's watch a little bit of what I would consider a very emotional video, but with some that drummed up some controversy as well.
As the summer comes to an end, I cannot tell you what a relief it is to have finally completed my chemotherapy treatment. The last 9 months have been incredibly tough for us as a family.
So some people thought it was a little too casual. I am not one of those people. I actually think it was very impactful in a very, very good way. So I just really thought this was really amazing.
Life as you know it can change in an instant, and we've had to find a way to navigate the stormy waters and road unknown. The cancer journey is complex, scary, and unpredictable for everyone.
So this was, again, just a very, very emotional video, one that you normally don't see from the royals for sure, but there was just a kind of a great moment, and we saw them in a very casual setting, which I thought was really great.
Out of darkness can come light, so let that light shine bright.
So I really do love that song, that message. I think that's really powerful here at the end, especially in the music. Oh, it just gets you every time. So, very, very sweet and special video from the royal family. And it was just really amazing. And you got to see them on a very personal level, which I think some people, again, criticize. I think it worked really, really well. So, that was sort of starting off September. And then we had Charles and Camilla undertaking their official visit to Australia and Samoa. And so that was really exciting because that means other royals can visit. And it's just good that Charles was feeling well enough to go out, although we have learned and it has been confirmed that he was still undergoing cancer treatments at that time, and he will still be undergoing cancer treatments into the new year. So this raises some interesting questions, like you wonder how serious the cancer is, let's say, compared to Catherine and what she is going through in some ways, because it's like, wait, why are you still needing is obviously a bit of concern. And so hopefully he is going to be recovering here and doing really well, because it's very serious. And hopefully, as he has worked so hard, stayed like been so faithful to try to get to this point where he can become king, that to sort of lose it, you could say, so quickly is almost a bit of a surprise. So that is it was great. He also got a bit of a challenge from somebody who was a supporter of Aborigine movement, and talking about how and disparaging Charles and everything. I always find those things a little bit difficult, like attacking someone for something that happened in some cases centuries ago, as if it's their job to sort of fix that. I'm like, no, not really. Not really. In my opinion, is like not so much. So that is definitely a huge part of what was going on with the Brits this year. And so I'm trying to find the video, but I'm not sure if I'm actually on the right thing. But the big challenge, you could say, for King Felipe this year was him and Queen Letizia went to Valencia and were essentially sort of, I want to say, attacked, and some people criticize that, but I mean, really, they were sort of surrounded by a mob. Things were thrown at them. This was because the president of the country was there with them, and people really criticized him for not doing enough to assist those who had been impacted by the flooding in Valencia. People thought there wasn't enough sort of time to address those things. So that was definitely a challenge for his reign, but he walked it through, and he actually was able to raise the popularity of himself and his wife and the monarchy in the process, because Juan Carlos was such a much beloved king because he helped return the country from a dictatorship back to a democracy, and Felipe just didn't have the same, you could say, impact. But yeah. All right. So we are getting towards the end of the year. So we just got a couple of things, and then I will go through and find some of the questions here. So we do have William hosted his, I want to say, what is it, fourth Earthshot Prize there in South Africa. Seems like maybe South America next year will be the next destination. And so, because we've done Europe, North America, we've done Africa, and we've done Asia. So we're missing South America, and that's pretty much it, I think. Oh, and Australia and Antarctica. It would be funny if he did one in Antarctica, I think. Then we had in December so many state visits. We had a state visit between Belgium and Oman, the UK and Qatar, Denmark and Egypt, which I happened to be there to cover in person, which was very exciting. Got to see Queen Mary's new tiara because that was a sort of big royal news event. Is that Mary actually created a tiara out of some pieces from the actual Danish crown jewels. And so she was able to create a nice little bandeau tiara. We also have the Netherlands and Portugal, and Spain went and visited for an official state visit in Italy. So much going on. We also had the Swedish Nobel. So many tiaras in the first couple of weeks of December. It was very exciting. Queen Camilla also debuted the Queen Alexandra's Kokoshnik tiara, which is one of the most substantial ones within the British collection. She actually does the big tiaras, I think, fairly well. I would argue Queen Letizia is one who does not, because she seems so petite that the big tiaras seem to overwhelm her frame, but I think Camilla pulls them off very well. The Belgian royals also hosted, which I thought was very cool, veterans from the Battle of the Bulge. And I mean, there's only a handful left. I believe all the ones who visited the royal palace were 99 years old. So it was very exciting that they were able to host that. And I think that was very cool. And then we have Grand Duke Henri of Luxembourg announced his abdication and that his son will inherit his role in October of 2025. So we have a new Grand Duke of Luxembourg to expect next year, which will be very, very exciting. And so, and we have Catherine's Christmas Carols event. I forgot I was going to add that one as sort of a last little bit here. And so she has basically made this sort of a staple of the British royal calendar. So very, very exciting to see this event really become something of great tradition within the family, which is very, very exciting.
And reminds us of the importance of giving and receiving empathy.
So I feel like this year too, the Christmas concert, the Christmas Carol meant so much more to Catherine because of what she's personally experienced. Now, when I was traveling to Europe initially, I was going to actually cover this event in person, but state visit from Denmark called and I got to see tiaras in person. So I did that instead.
As well as just how much we need each other in spite of our differences. Above all else, it encourages us to turn to love, not fear.
So very, very sweet, very kind. We had the nativity here, and quite amazing.
The love that we show ourselves and the love that we show others. Love that listens with empathy. Love that is kind and understanding. Love that is forgiving.
Oh, I love the focusing on Charlotte because she was very excited for the ballet portion.
And love that brings joy and hope. It is love which is the greatest gift we can receive, not just at Christmas, but every day of our lives.
Very sweet message.
Across the United Kingdom, there are so many inspiring people embracing those in need. This carol service is a heartfelt celebration of every one of you.
So very like I feel like the personal touches for the carols is getting larger and larger every year, which I think is really fantastic and something that Catherine is very much focused on.
And a reminder that at Christmas and throughout the year, we must all shine for each other. Because in times of joy and sadness, we are all each other's light.
Oh, very sweet. I love when we can see the kids. I think seeing the kids is just so exciting. Oh, always love it.
I wish you and your loved ones a very Merry Christmas.
Love that they say Merry Christmas too. I don't know why, but I prefer that to just going Happy Holidays, which is like not meaning anything, but Merry Christmas very much. So hope you guys all had a Merry Christmas and then of course a Happy New Year. But let's go ahead and get into the comments. And so I'm going to take a little sip of water because if you guys have been following the channel, you know I'm getting over a bit of a cold. So let me take a bit of a sip of water and then we'll get to the comments and within the chat here to sort of wrap it up. But guys, thank you so much for tuning in. So many questions here, so many comments, so many great ones. We have Diane who says, woohoo, I made it plus a 12-month member. Happy New Year. Oh, well, I thank you so much. And we have Shaz as well, who's been a member for 12 months. Happy Hog Money to and all the best for 2025. Everyone, very cool. And we got Kate Greenham, who's been a member for 2 months. If you could interview any royal, who would it be? This is a great question and sort of a tough question because I guess it would depend on what would be the parameters of the interview. Like I would pretty much like to sit down with anyone. Love to interview Catherine Amalia because apparently she is a huge fan of tiaras and very interested in the history of them. And I'd love to talk to her about that. I think that would be a fantastic episode for Royal Fashion News. I'd love to talk to Crown Princess Victoria because I feel like she's a royal who just loves being a royal in the best way, not because of the pomp and the circumstance and the ceremony and everything, but just although she, I think, likes that, but generally because she really enjoys serving her people. So I think she'd be fun to interview. Obviously, Catherine as well. I mean, that would be the goat to get Catherine or William. And, you got Queen Mary of Denmark. So I'd love to interview probably just about every royal. So that's always so hard to say. Lizzie B says, she said, Mary, I thought British say Happy Christmas. That is true, but yeah. I still think it's lovely. Azima says, will you be in London next year? Probably. It just depends on how things sort of work out. I almost thought of going to Trooping the Color, but then I decided not to, essentially because I didn't know if Catherine was going or not. So I debated. Paul says, Harry and Meghan shared a holiday card on Archwell with Archie and Lilibet and a photo with them. That Archie and Lily look nothing like the other versions of them. Well, we can't really see it, so we can't really tell. Carol says, if he is 6'4", he will be as tall as Edward the Confessor. If he is taller, he will be the tallest king UK ever had. Yes, so I hope William actually ends up being really tall. Or sorry, George, because I think that would be super cool. Diane says, Brittany, I think I asked many questions, but oh my goodness, your moment of 2024 is what I'd like to know, if nothing else. What is your oh my goodness moment of 2024? So I'd like to know, if nothing else. I mean, obviously, Catherine getting cancer, that was oh my goodness, wow, was not anticipating that for sure. But I guess as well, seeing the Stuart tiara for the state visit to Spain was something, or state visit with Spain, which I was not anticipating. And I think the Stuart is amazing. We got so many more better pictures and videos of it this time because the Dutch allow actual photographers in to cover things. The Brits don't. That drives me bonkers. But my personal probably more as knowing that I got a chance to cover the banquet in Denmark. That was probably my biggest yes. So, and I think I maybe covered this a bit in a vlog. I need to do a vlog for the members. I'll look through. I actually put my SD card in here from my a little camera thing to do another one. But one of my heart stopping, oh my goodness, I wanted to I so wanted to yell at myself moments was that I actually had left super early to try to find Vogue Scandinavia. Wasn't able to find it in Denmark. I could have actually gone to a different store, but I didn't want to waste my time because I wanted to make sure, because I overslept my alarm. So I missed the first engagement that I wanted to cover that day because I got in super late. like I didn't go to bed. I like thought I set my snooze and I didn't, like so many different things, all on me though, my fault. But anyways, so I made sure to get to the banquet super early because I was so excited to cover that. Like it's been like a bucket list thing to cover a state banquet. And I was just like so incredibly excited to do so. And then I'm about to walk to the palace and was going to get there about 30 minutes early. Sorry. And I realized I forgot my press pass. I was devastated. So I was going to run back and I was in Mary Jane's like shoes, flats. And of course it was damp because it's Denmark and like I was worried slipping on the cobblestones and stuff. But I happened to see a taxi driver right there. And I was like, are you available? And he says, yes. And I was like, can you take me to my hotel? He's like, okay. And it was going to take me about 15 minutes to walk or run it. And I got there in the car in about, I would say about maybe a little less than 15 minutes, but about 15 minutes. And I was like, oh my gosh. Thankfully, my hotel always has taxi cabs in front of it. Oh, saved my life. And so I ran upstairs to my room and I also forgot my hotel key. So I had to go up to the front desk. I had like my passport out or something. It's like, I need my hotel key now. And so they gave me one real quickly. I got up in the elevator, went upstairs real quick, went into my room, found my press passes, ran downstairs, got my first cab and go, I need to go here now. Thankfully it was Christianborg Palace and not Amalienborg, which is a little bit further away. So I got into the car. He was taking me and I was like, I told both of the guys, rush, please rush. Like I have to cover this. Like, you don't understand. Like, please rush. Please rush. Oh my goodness, please rush. And so he managed to get me there with, I think, 3 minutes to spare to the time I was supposed to be there. And so I run up to the front door. I was not the last person to arrive. I wanted to get there much earlier because the earlier you get there, the better spot you can grab. And so I was just so excited to do it. And I was so excited too, because I had requested it and I was like, later got an email from the guy kind of arranging the international press passes. And he's like, you are going to like be here, right? I'm like, yes. So it's like last minute plane ticket. If I didn't cover the banquet, I was like, that would basically be a whole waste of the whole reason I went to Denmark. I would have probably cried. I'm not a crier. So that was like a huge moment. So I got in there, so incredibly grateful. It was so cool. They were so nice, so unbelievably nice and so helpful to like, he was like, oh, you can stand here. You can get this angle and this angle. I was like, thank you. Cause otherwise I just don't know. And I don't want to force myself in front of other people who was like, it's like really, really their job to get stuff. Cause like for me, I feel like it's my job too, but just in a different way. So anyways, guys, that was a wild night. Thank goodness it worked out. Otherwise, I would have just sat and cried. But like, here's the thing too. I will tell this to everybody. If there's a moment where you're like, oh my gosh, this isn't going to work. I could have just sat there, frozen there and just said, well, I'm not going to make it back. Cause it would have taken me 15 minutes to walk back to my hotel and back. And I had about 30 minutes and that was it. And so it's like, I was this close to it not working at all. But I was like, okay, I'm just going to do this. I'm just going to push it. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't, whatever. I'm just going to do it. And it works. So never give up until the very end. I even missed the first engagement and I still walked around knowing I was 30 minutes late, knowing there was no way in the world they were going to let me in. I just had to ask. This was the first engagement of the day. They told me no. Hey, I tried. I walked like 10 miles that day. Like my feet hurt so bad. But yeah, just to say something, never give up, guys. So Wendy Van Rokel, thank you so much for the tip. Happy New Year to you. You enjoy much success in your endeavors. Why, thank you so much. Thank you. I do appreciate that. So yeah, I do appreciate that. So we have Susie D says, Camilla allegedly trying to take possession of all royal jewels. King Charles stopped her. Also trying to give her kids titles. She want power, money, titles for his kids. I would say no. No, I don't think any of that is true. And Camilla is the queen, so she does get to control a lot of the tiara collection. I would imagine most of the time the men generally leave it to the women. But Camilla, I think, is much warmer than people give her credit for. So yeah. Lizzie B says, I'm glad Queen Camilla is taking more jewelry out of the vault and letting the royal ladies switch with the tiaras. Me too. Diane says, Brittany, about tiaras again. Do you think Queen Camilla will share the tiaras? That would be exciting. I'm really hoping that's the case. I'm really hoping that's the case. Lizzie B gifted 1 Royal News Network membership. I thank you so much, Lizzie. I'm sure someone will enjoy that this time of year. That's so exciting. And Carol, you're so right. I so forgot that was so great. The reopening of the Notre Dame. So forgot that. Prince William meeting with Donald Trump, another big moment. I was also there in Paris. I was not thinking about the Notre Dame being such a huge deal for its reopening, which was the dummy me. So you could not freaking get close to it. It's because it is on an island. It was totally cut off with security that whole weekend. I was in Paris. So I will have to go another time because I do want to see it again. And I will say, though, I went to the concierge, and that was the only way you could get on the Notre Dame island. Seriously, not joking, not joking. Not joking at all. So Carol says, Catherine went through aggressive treatment and Charles could have done gentle due to his age. So it's very possible. Very, very possible for sure when it comes to their chemo or immunotherapy or what have you. Oh, Trina, thank you so much. Trina gave a tip. I hope you're doing well this time of year. Trina, hopefully you are keeping warm there in Canada. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So Carol says, I think the mainstream media doesn't like the media landscape has changed and the Royal Rota is criticizing and not making money off of it. I would say too, yeah, the like, the emergence of people like me and others on social media has totally changed the game. Mitsukobi was complaining about it. He's like, oh, anybody with a mic and a USB cable can be a royal commentator. It's like, well, this kind of sometimes is what it is. But really, the criticism is that people like him aren't as trusted anymore as they were, which means that they can't push their agenda quite as much. Because what we see in the media landscape is people are like, they trust the mainstream media less and less. And so if you're part of the mainstream media, you're not well trusted. So he, of course, he's been caught in like multiple lies too. So like you could be wrong about something, because I'm wrong about things from time to time. But he's like been caught in like pretty blatant lies, like saying, well, I don't know how the names could have gotten in the book, the Endgame book, in the Dutch version. And there were like multiple differences. So you could tell they had an earlier draft. He's like, I have no clue how the royal, the alleged royal racists were named because I didn't put it in the book. And yet they were the right names. So I'm like, okay, bud, like, sure. He's lied about his age. Like he deleted a picture of himself in like a private jet or something when he was talking about, oh, I get to fly in a private jet for some reason. And he like deleted it. And he's like, and he criticizes, like, sorry, this is a long way to say it's like, dude, you're like, come on, seriously. Like we caught you in something. It's like, just admit it. Diane says, Brittany, I asked about 2025 trips, but where would you like to visit but haven't yet? Do they have royalty there? Now, I'm like one of those people where it's like, I wouldn't mind trying to go to every country in the world, but really, honestly, I'm not. I'm not that adventurous in some ways, although I have been to one of the most dangerous countries on earth, which is Haiti. I went to Haiti for a little bit of a work trip. Very well aware if our car stopped any place between the airport and our destination that I was probably going to die. So I have been to some dangerous places, not super interested going to a bunch of dangerous places. However, I would love to go to some places in the Middle East as a historian. I would love to go to Egypt. I actually thought about doing an Egypt trip for people who might be interested, because I'd love to go to Egypt. I want to see the pyramids of Giza, what is it called? Valley of the Kings, Hatshepsut's temple. We have Karnak and I can't remember the other name I'm thinking of. Anyways, so I would love to go there. Don't know if other people are interested, but I would love to go to Egypt. But I think next year, what I decided to do, because I keep getting people who comment on this and I need to do more, but I would love to actually cover an event in Spain, which I haven't done yet, because a lot of people are loving Princess Leonor. So I would love to cover an event of hers. So I'll be kind of keeping a closer eye on Spain. I also need to cover something in Belgium. I've covered a couple events now in the Netherlands, and I've covered in Denmark and in Sweden. I would love to go to Norway too. So I'm basically, and south of France is a trip. I need to request it from officially Trova Trips so we can get started on that. And I already have actually a bunch of people who went on my Christmas market trips who are interested in that trip. It'll be probably late September, and that'll give me time to go to Luxembourg in October. So because it's the end of September is that trip, and we have the Luxembourg sort of inauguration in October, I think I'll go and cover the event in Luxembourg. That's kind of my tenuous plan. I would also love to cover the baptism in Sweden. So for Princess Sophia's next child, I would love to cover that because baptisms in Sweden tend to be a great fun time. The kids, although they're older now, so this probably won't be quite the case. The kids can be a little fun. They can be fun. They can be fun. They can be totally kids, and I love it. Paul says the video maker deserving the award was a masterpiece. Yes, I was thinking you were talking about me, but you're talking about the Catherine video, which makes so much more sense. Yes, and that is a fabulous video. So K Coffee says, I thought Catherine's announcement to the end of her treatment was beautiful. It was. So Aram Scout says, I love the video. Seems very personal on Princess Catherine's side. Yes. Asma says that Martha Louise needs to lose her titles. I do not disagree. She has lost her HRH, sort of, kind of, but yeah. Diane says, Brittany, will you be doing more collaborations on Royals with any YouTubers? I don't have plans right now, but we shall see next year what maybe it holds. I will continue to be on Dan's program, which is fabulous. So enjoying that next year. Asma says, the king and Norway's children are both unsuitable for the throne. Feel bad for the king and queen. Yeah, it's just not great. Not great. So Carol says, I agree, Lizzie B. It has now come to the point where the crown prince and princess owes the public answers. Yes, they did do a video, and I did forget to mention that. They did do a bit of a video, but I really felt like they kind of like sidestepped it well. It's like Marius is working on it. He deserves privacy. And it's like, no. You don't get to use the privacy shield. I don't like it sometimes when people use, oh, we need privacy. You deserve to answer some of the public's questions here because you were allowing him in your home, knowing he had issues, knowing his friends were stealing from you, knowing he was inviting criminals over to your home, and you seem to do nothing about it. Like you tried to contain it and you failed. So he was raised in your home. So this is sort of a parental failure here. And I think you should sort of acknowledge that. Shaz says that boy needs a good slap is all I can say. And I hope they throw the book at him. I think he needs some serious consequences because he doesn't seem like Marius is taking any of this very seriously. Lizzie B says, Crown Princess Martin needs to hold her son accountable during their interview with the Crown Prince. They seem to ask for privacy for Marius. Nope, your friend's sons used public funds. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. So it's one of those things where really answers, they need to give people answers. So World Gone Mad says, hi, Brittany and all. Happy New Year. I wish you all health and happiness. Here's to 2025. Lizzie B says, Shaz, she is petite, but King Felipe is super tall. I think his height is 6'6". And Carol asked, I thought it was 6'5". My understanding is that he's 6'5". I haven't actually personally gone up there and measured him, so I don't know for sure. But he is extremely tall. So when I say Queen Letizia is petite, like she's tiny, she's built tiny. She's somebody who has when they say like big boned, she's small boned. So she's very, I would almost say angular too, not in a bad way, but she's just very tiny and he's just super unbelievably tall. So big difference there. So sorry for the continued coughing, but we may have to maybe not go too much longer because the voice might not hold, but we'll try to get through it. So Diane says, Brittany, this is a really hard question, or you can tell us later. What was your favorite story of 2024 besides Catherine recovering? It's hard because you always feel like you remember stuff from more recently than stuff earlier in the year. I love tiaras. So there's some great tiara stories this year. I need to do a video on it. I don't know if I'll get to it today. I will try to. But my overall thought is I love that Queen Mary made a new tiara out of the crown jewels. I love that. It's one of my favorite stories probably of 2024. Is so clever and so like taking an example from another royal family and utilizing something that's basically sitting in the vault collecting dust and going, you know what? I think I can use that. And I think it's fabulous. I think it's absolutely fabulous. 100%. Oh, Angela says nobody asked for the crowd to stand and cheer for Catherine. They did it because they respect her. Yes. So again, she was not expecting that. She was not expecting that. And so she reacted to it. Carol says, I think Spanish royalty social media presence is due to Letitia and her former experience as in journalism. Yes, 100%. I think it really does help. And I think it's something where they should really, like, all the royal family should be doing what Spain is doing. I'm sorry, they should all be doing what Spain is doing. So much so. I can't imagine, like, it's just so good. Carol says, can you imagine how tall those children will be? So, Catherine and William's kids, yes, they'll be tall. But oh gosh, my voice is not holding. But when it comes to King Felipe and Queen Letitia's kids, I think actually both the girls are probably 5'10" something, at least 5'11". You just can't tell because their dad is so stinking tall. That's hard to tell. Infanta Sofia mostly wears flats, so she's taller than her sister and her mother. So I think she's pretty tall. But it's so hard to gauge because he is so tall. So they all look short by comparison, but he's just so abnormally tall. Okay. So Carol says, my mom worked in hospitals. They value their VIP patients and will continue their internal and external investigations of how to fix it. Yes. Especially because Catherine, that they didn't find out anything is I think completely and totally great. It's so good. But yeah. Angela says, Daniel respects his wife's role and rules that come with it. Victoria chose a great partner. Yes. I mean, there have been some like internal things I've seen that sometimes like he struggles with it, but I don't think it's bad that he struggles with it because everybody, maybe struggles with it from time to time, but he still respects it. Like, I think the thing, especially when it comes to Meghan, is that she never respected the institution. So even if she had issues with it, it comes across even worse because she had no respect to begin with. Daniel has respect for it and follows the protocols. And yes, sometimes he probably is like, oh, I don't want to do this, or this is challenging for me as a man, because always my wife is greeted first. Everybody pays attention to my wife. And I think for men, that is harder. But he is able to respect her enough, because part of it to me comes down to respecting your spouse and the institution they represent. And Meghan had zero respect for the institution, zero respect for her husband, and that is not attractive. Paul says the behavior panel YouTube made a video claiming Catherine on the bench was fake. Oh, I hated that. So many people did, and I was like, what? It's kind of too, like, I personally have talked about the picture of the Harry and Meghan's kids, and just how I think it's just was a picture taken from a phone or a video or something far away. And so that's why the video quality is so, the picture quality is so terrible. And then people come up with other things, and I'm like, there's some actual logical explanations for things that, yes, may seem weird to some people, and I know some people analyze some things to death, but there are really honestly some logical explanations to stuff. People just don't need to go through so crazy. SEJ, so I'm confused on this. When Catherine released her Mother's Day photo, do they release it to the media and Getty are like supposed to license it? Same with the ridiculous Sussex card. No. So sort of what happens is, although Getty licenses it in a loose term because it's actually free. So I was actually bummed because I was looking for pictures today and realized I should have went in and gotten some of the stills from Catherine's cancer video, because I could get them for free. They're only available for a short period of time, like that, but you can actually get them for free. They're on Getty Images. After a certain period of time, you do have to contact Getty Images to pay for them. But usually what the royal family does is that they release them on their social media and through Getty Images so that those images can be licensed, but they're limited for the period of time they can be used. So usually it's about a week. I think that's kind of lame. I like what the Scandinavian royals do. So I feel like the Brits should take more examples from Spain and Scandinavia. Spain in terms of their YouTube channel, and Scandinavia in terms of they have entire media banks on their websites where you can go in and get an editorial picture that you can use for infinity. Now there's some instances where they're like, oh, you can't use that picture for so long. But I think it's so nice that they just have something there available that you can download like at any time for free and use it as an editorial image that they approve of. And it's you like you don't have to go through social media. The Brits use Getty Images, which I think is a little ridiculous. So they are changing it in that they're not releasing some of the pictures through Getty Images anymore. They're just going on their social media accounts. But yes, the Mother's Day picture was released on their social media and then given to Getty Images for free. Sussexes make people pay because I think they're trying to make some back end money off people paying for their editorial images. So that's why you shouldn't buy any editorial images from that come directly from Archwell, because most likely Harry and Meghan are making a little bit of money off that. And so instead, what you should focus, but the royals don't do that. So all the coronation images, like the official ones, were available for free. So I downloaded all the large images for free because those usually cost $500 a pop. It's very expensive to license editorial images, which is why I like going in covering events myself, because then I have a slew of images that I control, that I own, that I can use for things for infinity because they belong to me. I can also sell some of them. I have to be careful though, because I think some of them I sell I can't use personally. So that there's kind of a you could say a conflict there, but I own the images. They're mine. So that's why you see a massive watermark, because I know how much those images cost. So I'm not going to give it to you. Like for members, I did give, and I need to do it more, give images with a smaller watermark so that you can see the image better. But the reason I do a big watermark, and I know people don't like it, but I know how much those images cost. And if people are going to take my images and post them elsewhere and not give me credit, I'm like, would be a little irritated. Just saying. So sorry, guys. Grace says, okay, I didn't know it was through the glass of a car. That explains the haze. Yes. So, I mean, there's so many explanations for different things that people just don't ever sometimes like think through. So Diane says, I would love to visit Scotland, but don't see that in my future. It is a very gorgeous place to visit. Ellen says that was ridiculous. The where is business. She puts out a picture to squash the rumors, and then this happened. Yeah, it just got so incredibly crazy. Yeah, SEJ says the kill notices were ridiculous. I've never heard of that or seen them do that before. It was just like, it felt vindictive by members of the media. They're like, yes, we have this little avenue. I just thought it was ridiculous. I always said it was ridiculous. That is my personal opinion on it. Just think it was crazy. Because like every image is edited a bit, but it was like they didn't control it. And I would say my only criticism of Catherine and William in this situation is that, again, I don't think they had told their staff that she was sick. I don't think they knew that. So she was doing that while she was sick, and it really should have been something where they allowed their team to actually do it rather than them trying to control it. I think they were trying to control it because they were trying to sequester and keep information from getting out. So I understand, but they should have had somebody review and try to pick up on those issues. So it's just kind of so strange. But yeah, Laner says much ado about nothing. The Royal Rota were annoyed about not taking the picture. Yes. I think they were annoyed that they couldn't go and but Catherine and William, again, knew what was really going on. The press didn't, and the press looked pretty bad. Gotta say, the press looked bad. They really, really did. So Carol says, I'm not saying Diana didn't do great things. She did. But we need to realize royals are human also. Yes, they are. They 100% are. And that's challenging, but yeah, yeah, they're human. So you gotta be careful. I love Elainer says, you're right, Brittany. My husband doesn't get it. When it comes to royal watching, yeah, the men don't get it. Largely. Now, I will say my sister found a comment once, which I love. It's just like, some guys are like, I don't know why I'm watching this because it's not really my thing, but I find it fascinating. And so I'm like, yes, you guys are awesome. So Carol says, this is why we need letters of patent modified with a code of conduct, code of governance, and when royals leave, what happens? Yes. I just don't understand why Charles, I get it. He's just been king barely 2 years. So I understand the challenges, but I think the letters of patent need an update. And I think you need an avenue to punish members who who go out of line and in a really bad way that damages the whole institution. I need to do a whole video on this because as I was describing it, I was sort of realizing, wow, there's a really easy comparison to make, and it's really about your brand, which obviously royals are an institution and everything. They're not totally brand, but they are. And Harry and Meghan are undermining the brand. And what do real brands do when somebody's undermining them? They attack. And I'm not saying attack Harry and Meghan. What I am saying, though, is that you need to respond. You can't just let them undermine your brand, which is what Harry and Meghan are doing. So Susan says, yes, the submission was planned and needed, but not life-threatening, needed emergent emission. Yes. So I wanted to, that was my kind of clarification on how they were talking about Catherine's surgery, because people took the element of planned to mean like elective or that was scheduled 6 months in advance. No. This was, again, a surgery that was planned in terms of they had probably, I would argue maybe a week or two at most to plan it. But she needed surgery quickly, but it wasn't so life-threatening that she needed to be pushed into the emergency room right away. That's the difference. But I feel like, again, that's could have been something that they worded a bit differently. So anyways, always think again, there's been so much information, so good to clarify. Vicky says, Carl Gustaf will never abdicate. He's still mad at Crown Princess Victoria was placed back in the role as heir apparent. Yeah, a little bit, yeah. So he won't abdicate because of that. Frederick wasn't made king because of what happened in Spain, which is that he was basically seen out with another woman. But it made it all more complicated. Madam Esther says, Happy New Year to all the fantastic community Brittany has put together by starting this fab channel. Why, thank you. Why, thank you. Yes, lots of happy New Year's here for sure. Diane says, I really like King Frederick and Queen Mary. I wouldn't have known them without Brittany. Who is your favorite royal couple? Oh, goodness gracious. I don't know who my favorite royal couple is. Sorry, trying not to cough. Yeah, I don't know. I like Maxima, but William Alexander doesn't do much. I think Felipe and Letizia are a great team, but yeah, I'm not sure who my favorite royal couple is, to be quite honest. I like Victoria and Daniel. I think they're sweet. So, anyways, not sure. Jess says, that would be so cool if you do an interview process, Princess Catherine Amalia. I think that would be so cool. I'd love to chat with her. Love to chat with her. So, Angel of the Morning says, Hi, Brittany. Have you heard any international coverage on the King of Sweden's Christmas speech? Not much. I haven't had a chance to watch that. I love that Crown Princess Victoria read some of the Bible for like New Year's. So I think that's great. But yeah, I haven't heard much coverage of it. Generally, royals outside the UK don't get much international coverage, which I think is a shame, which is why I like this channel. Naomi says, my first time catching live and just recently found your channel. Great way to end the year and begin a new one. Why, thank you so much. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. So let's see here. Carol says, Egypt, the history. Yes, I would love to go to Egypt. Carol says, would love to see Arden at 250K next year. That would be so cool. That would be so cool. So, Shah says, Brittany, what do you think about the news Omen is doing a series about an American moving to the UK and working for Buckingham Palace? I think that thing is going to flop hard because he's just sort of like, nobody takes him seriously. He's like a bit of a joke. And I know Hollywood doesn't know that, but like, I wouldn't believe anything that comes out of his mouth. Yeah. So Catherine says, I'm hoping that Stephanie in Luxembourg will be allowed to have her own fashion style once she is Grand Duchess. I kind of hope to. Like, really, because I feel like Maria Teresa controls some of it, because I just think it's so weird that Stephanie is wearing some of her gowns. I'm like, and she's wearing new ones. Maria Teresa, and it's like they're not the same body type, really. So I'm like, why are you doing this? Anyways, Trina says, any interviews you want to do? I want to do so many. I would love to like chat with more of some of the royal reporters there over in the UK. It would be like fun to chat with Richard Eden. That would be fun. So a couple others. But yeah, I'd love to interview like other royals. It'd be so fun. Be so fun. Adine says, looking so lovely, Brittany, as usual. Happy New Year. Why, thank you. And like I said, Catherine Amalia would love to chat with her. Queen Mary. Oh, Queen Margaretha of Denmark. I'd love to do her just because I used her quote. It's not about the carrots. It's about the centuries. It's such a good quote. K Coffee says, time for Brittany to go back to bed and wake up in the new year. You're probably about time for me to give up because, oh, goodness. Yes. Okay, so sorry, I'm like reading through these. Sorry, I've been kind of hit and miss on the mute there. DS says, thanks for the heads up about polo. Saved me the time. So glad. That was fun. That was fun. That was fun. So old school millennial, happy new year, 2025 new year, Brittany Royal Chat. Do you have any new year achievable goal you don't mind sharing? So my goal is to, because sometimes I work too late in the evening. So my goal, and I was able to do it last week, struggled a bit more with it this week, but you also have like kind of a bit more challenge. But my goal is to get my day done mostly by 5 o'clock, because sometimes it goes way late into the evening and I want to stop doing that. But I mean, my goal is to hopefully cover another state event this year, state visit. Love to see tiaras in person and have a couple, maybe more trips going over to Europe and getting some really good pictures. Because for me, it's just, would be. I just love having my own pictures, love having my own videos, figuring out how to do all that is great. World Gone Mad said, I'm Middle Eastern, would love to join a trip to Egypt. I'll translate, should visit Israel too. I'll translate as well. Happy New Year. Why, thank you. Why, thank you. I want to go to Egypt so bad. I've been trying to go for like ever, or wanted to go forever, but Angel of the Morning says, thanks so much for replying. The reason I asked was that King Carl Gustav basically told the people of Sweden to get ready for war. I'm very worried. Yes, I have heard that. And so I know that's definitely a little scary. So we'll see what's going on. But yeah, Sweden definitely has, I feel like is definitely concerned about Russia. So hopefully though, nothing bad will happen, but we shall see. Lizzie B, a member for 9 months. Sorry, I missed what's one. Thank you for all your hard work, keeping us well informed and entertained. Here's to a wonderful 2025 for us all. Why, thank you. Why, thank you. Yeah, Shaz says you will love it, Brittany. Diana says, Brittany, I'm guessing I'm being nosy. Any plans tonight? I will be in bed early. Probably not. I may go over to my folks. Kind of want to go over to the gym, but we'll see how late it's open. Because my goal this year is to get back in better shape. So that's my other goal. Old School Millennial says, Brittany, get some herbal teas and drops. Recommend mushroom ginger teas. Something's been going around, at least in Florida, young and old, getting flu-like symptoms, even healthy folks. Yes. So yeah, ever since I got bronchitis in grad school, when I get a cough, it like never goes away. It's so annoying. It's so annoying. So hopefully within the next week or two, it goes away. If not, last time when I had COVID, I actually got a cough again, had to go to the urgent care and actually get steroids and antibiotics to finally get rid of the cough. It's just like, I just can't get rid of it. It's so annoying. But anyways, guys, we will go ahead and wrap it up. Part to save my voice and part to save you guys hearing me cough more. Thank you guys so much for being such a great community for Royal News Network here in 2024 and then 2025 as well. I cannot wait to hopefully cover more royal engagements, have like so much more like just so exciting things. Hopefully a better year for Catherine and the family. So happy new year to everyone. Big shout out to all of you guys, especially members. Thank you so much for your support. And I owe you guys so much more. We will be doing a members only live stream on Thursday for the new year. So guys, thank you so much. And I hope to see you guys again here really, really soon. All right. So I will talk to you guys later and see you soon and have a happy and safe new year. Be safe. All right. Bye.